Good day, my people, my people, my people, my people, my people. Listen to me, people. We always have to try to make the best of a bad situation. No matter how life threw us a lemon, we have to learn to make lemonade from that lemon. COVID-19 is just another lemon. Let me give you an example, right? This morning, I was trying to get to a particular place. I got onto the wrong because I wanted to do a video from that place. I got onto the wrong bus, drove on that bus for half an hour, then the driver told me he reached the last stop. Only to realize that I have been traveling for the past half an hour on the wrong bus, taking me to a place where I did not want to go. So now I have to do my video from this location. People, when life serves you up a lemon, you just have to take it and make something useful of it. It may not be lemonade, it may be something else, right? And this is what life is all about. Life always serves us up something that we didn't expect it, something that we didn't want. But when it happens, all we have to do is to make the best of it. Try and make a positive out of the negative that we are called upon to confront. While I talk here freely, I'm just inviting some people to view this live video from somewhere in nowhere. I don't even know where I am, right? But I promise to come around this. I'm a little late. I think I'm a little late. I promise to come around this time, so I have to do it here. I cannot start over the journey and find my new location. That will be a location for another time. So I'm doing it right here. And people, you know, when I come to you to talk to you, we may not share the same political perspective. We may not share the same religious views. We may not share a lot of things in common. But one thing you know about Allan Palmer is that when I come to talk to you, I am going to tell you the truth as I know it. Right? The truth as I understand it. I am not here to spread lies and to bring rumors to anyone. But if you're going to hang out with me for the next couple of minutes, please share this video. Share it on your page, share it on a friend page, tag a friend in it, share it in one of your group. Share it in, I see they have another, what do you call them? I see Facebook give you another opportunity to have little gatherings. What do you call it? I can't remember what you call it. But share it with your people, right? Because we're going to talk something very important today. I advertised this live today and I asked that the Teachers Union president and members, I asked that the St. Vincent Police Association, Welfare Association people, I ask that the PSU people must come and view this live because it is important that we view this live today, right? It's important that we view this live today. Now, I have always been giving wise counsel to the people who view my live videos. I have never tell you anything that is going to benefit me personally. Whatever I says are going to benefit the people, never me. Because listen to me, people, I don't have any intention of enriching myself off of the back of others or off the back of somebody who is poorer than I am, right? I don't have that intention. So people, if you notice, I'm out in nowhere, right? And the only reason why I'm out in nowhere is because this morning I got on the wrong bus. And by the time the bus driver told me this is the last stop, I was in the middle of nowhere. It was not my intention to come here. But I am here, so I have to make the best of this. Before I go into this video, which I asking you all to share it on your page, share it on a friend page, do something with it, right? I want to tell you a story. There was a young couple in a neighborhood, right? And the guy was from the neighborhood, and there was this older guy who was the mentor of the young married husband. And what happened? He noticed when the husband was away, the older guy noticed that a mischief maker, one of those guys who like to go around and sleep with people's wife, start hanging around by the man's house. He was speaking to his wife, who was at home. So when the young man returned from work, he said, I thought you were home. I was sure it was you I saw speaking with your wife from the window. He was trying to give him a hint without getting involved in their business. So the young man said, no, I'm not me, man. I just coming home from work. He said, I sure it's you. I saw standing outside the house. Your wife was by the window speaking. The second day, he told him the same thing. The young man wasn't smart enough to pick up what he was saying. But the older gentleman knew that this young man hanging around with his house only have one intention, and it's to sleep with his wife. But the older gentleman did not want to get involved in the young man's affairs. So what he did, he said, you know what? If I am drunk and I talk to him and tell him my mind, at least I can blame the liquor. So the older man get drunk. He put himself in a position where he can meet the young man to give him the drunken man's story. So he was drunk and he was there. And the first day he went, he put his head in rum, and he went and he sat there. And when he see his young mentee coming, he say, hey, Johnny, let me talk to you there. I have something to tell you. And he was drunk, and Johnny said, man, I don't want to have a conversation with a drunken man. You understand? I don't want to have a conversation with a drunken man. And he walk away and leave him there. The next day he do the same thing. And Johnny pass and say, you know, I don't want to have no conversation with a drunken man. Johnny forget that this was the young man who mentored him as a child. So now he don't want to speak to him because he see him as a drunk. But Johnny don't know that this man put liquor in his soul to come and reveal something important to him that could save his marriage. The next day, the drunken man, the guy go drink some rum again, and instead of talking to Johnny, he say, imagine when he was a youth, I took him to the beach, I used to take him, and now he have a big work and he's married. He's too good to talk to me. Right? But all I want to tell him, that card for Miss Wilhelmina, who always like to sleep with people's wife, have been bumming around your house, and it seems like you want to sleep with your wife. So Johnny, you know, well, a drunken man was talking foolishness. Until card for Miss Wilhelmina reached into Johnny's house and slept with his wife, and everyone was watching him and laughing and turning away their head when they see him, out of shame and in a form of shunning him for embarrassment. Right? All I'm trying to say is that sometimes you may think that you're more important than another person, and that person cannot give you counsel, or that person cannot give you information that will benefit you, because you think you are more important than that person. And there are people who will try to tell you, don't listen to him, he's a bum. Don't listen to him, he's a drunk. Don't listen to him, he's a troublemaker. We have to come to a stage where we are able to evaluate the message and not the messenger. Right? We have to come to that stage in our life where when somebody tells us anything, we are able to look at the content of what is being said and not who is bringing the content of the message. And this is all I wanted to say before I get into my dream. People, COVID-19 have thrown the wall a curveball. Whether we like it or not, whether it is justified or not, whether we believe it or not, the way that we have been doing business in the world have changed because of COVID-19, whether it's a perceived idea, or whether it's real, whether it's a perception or whether it is real. We have changed the way we have been doing business because of the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of things have happened. Many people have lost their jobs. Many businesses have closed their doors because of the regulation and the imposition that their city, their states, their county, or their country place on them. The new method in which they are forced to operating. Many things have happened, and we cannot change that fact. It is here with us. Like life, sometimes we are prepared to deal with the negative things that happen to us. And sometimes we are not prepared to deal with the negative thing that happened to us. Margaret Harry, or people I sorry for I did not acknowledge you. But I am kind of disoriented. I went on the bus to come to a certain place, and I end up in a place, so I have to do the video from here, and I don't want to do it from here, but I have to do it because I plan I'm coming to around this time. So yes. So what we have seen, the people's life have changed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Not only have their life changed, it have impacted a lot of people negatively, where people lost their job, people business went out of business. You have to close your business, not making any income. As I said earlier, some countries, because their government were prudent, they are able to withstand to a certain degree the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, while other countries whose government have not been prudent and who have misused and abused the public funds are now unable to really cushion the blow of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is just the simple reality, right? In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the reality is that the Ralph Gonsalves Unity Labour Party have not been prudent and diligent in the management of the affairs and the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So therefore, what we're going to see is that, hey, good day, Natasha, how are you? What we're going to see is that St. Vincent and the Grenadines is going to be hit harder than most of our Caribbean's neighbor. It's going to be hit harder than St. Lucia, Dominica, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, St. Vincent and Grenadines is going to feel a greater impact than all of these countries because the Ralph Gonsalves administration have not been prudent in the management of the resources of the country. Miranda Medford, good morning. Good afternoon, rather. Right? So we are going to have a far bigger impact. But in the impact, right? We have to remember that at Vincentians, we are all in this together. Vincentians, we are all in this together. It's not about political party. It's not about social status. It's not about church membership. It's about a people, collective, facing head-on the challenges that comes with the COVID-19 pandemic. We have to face it as a people. If you don't face it as a people, you're going to sink as a people. Right? And that's the last thing we want. We don't want to sink as a people. We want to rise above the problems that we are forced to face during this pandemic. Ernest Derrick, much love and blessings to you, my brother. Right? We have to rise above. Share this video, Ernest. Share it in a page, tag someone in it. We have to rise above. Maxon Sanders, good day. We have to rise above the challenges that we are forced to face in this pandemic. As a nation, as a people together, not a people divided, a people together, going forward and working in the best interests of each and every Vincentian, collectively, right? And this is simple fact. This is the only way we can get out of this pandemic and make it to the other side and be able to lead the best future for our children. Max and Sanchez, you agree with me, and I thank you, right? Vincentian, we have to bear our grinds as a community, as a society. Not me against you and you against I. We have to bear our grinds as a society. And in whatever we do, any action we take, we have to ensure that the sacrifice that we make during this pandemic period, right, benefits the next generation. Because whatever we do will impact the next generation of Vincentian that is going to take over from us. Our children and our grandchildren are going to see how we deal with it. And they are going to emulate the way we handle things and handle business in difficult times. So there's a time for you to rise to the occasion, because it is said that we only test our character in difficult times. So now it's difficult times, and it's time for us to show the mettle from which we are made as Vincentians and rise to the occasion and make wise, solid, firm decisions that are going to benefit not only us who are living now, but our children who are not capable to make these kind of decisions for themselves, and the next generation. Whatever we do, it must impact the next generation, or are we going to be spinning our top in mud? You see, we are not a people that thinks about tomorrow, that thinks about the next generation, that thinks about the future. We are a people that tend to be selfish and thinks only about ourselves and how things can benefit us. But it's time that we change that all way of doing business. And it's time that we do business looking at a holistic approach to getting out of this pandemic season as a country, as a nation. And I said all this from the bottom of my heart because I know sometimes we can only see as far as our table and as far as what I have to eat and as far as what I have to put on and as far as what my children have to eat. But now, as a country, we have to look beyond that. We have to start looking beyond that. Start making firm, tough, rational, remember the word, rational decisions that will benefit us and that will impact our future generation. Our vision must not only be firm and rational, they must be based in wisdom. That means we must try to look forward and see how is these decisions that we are going to make as a country, as a nation, is going to benefit the next generation. How is it going to impact my children? Do I want to see my children? Do I want my children to see me? Right? Trying to feed them at all costs? Or do I want to teach my children how to sacrifice, how to go without a meal for the greater good of our community, for the greater good of our country? And that is all. That's where I'm coming from. This is where I am coming. It's not about politics, but a little politics will come in. But hell with NDP, to hell with ULP, to hell with the Green Party. I ain't talking about politics. I'm talking about country before anything else. Okay. The reality is, here's the reality. Gonsalves is Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, whether we want him to be Prime Minister or not. he is in a position to responsibly manage the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As Prime Minister, he will be called upon to take some stringent action that would affect the entire Vincentian community. Right? I heard some people be saying that Ralph Gonsalves say you have to cut the wages of teachers, the public service, and police, and so forth. If the economy cannot strive unless wages has to be cut, the truth is, whether we like Gonsalves or not, wages have to be cut, because we have to look at the bigger picture, right? We have to bear our grinds until the pandemic done to ensure the future of our children, right? Simple fact. Simple fact. One of the obligation of Ralph Gonsalves as Prime Minister is to make honest decisions. Honest decisions. His decision must be just. I mean, it must not be partisan. His decision must be just. And most importantly, his decision must be in the best interest of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a nation. His decision must be in the best interest of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as a nation. He cannot appear to be selfish in the decision that he makes to benefit himself, to benefit his relative, his family, or the members of his party. Right? I just point us, if you're going to make firm decision, then you cannot appear to be selfish with the intention of benefiting only you and those who are closest to you. Right? So in other words, what I'm trying to say, if Ralph Gonsalves think it is in the best interest of the management of the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to cut wages of police officers, of nurses, of doctors, of the general public service, of teachers, then he must lead by example. Then he must lead by example and also take a pay cut in his wages. Not only a fabricated pay cut, but a pay cut that will show Vincentian that he too is serious about taking a pay cut, because we are all in this together. You cannot call on teachers, police, nurses, doctors, civil and public servants in different fields to take a pay cut when you are not willing as Prime Minister to lead by example and to take a pay cut yourself, not just a falsified pay cut where you are going to subsidize it in some other way, right? Not a subsidized pay cut. We want you to take an honest pay cut, a pay cut like all of those who you are going to call upon to take a pay cut. You understand? Your decisions must be firm, they must be just, they must be based on honesty, and hey, they must not be selfish. Because if you as Prime Minister, who are given the responsibility to manage the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, after 20 years, as Prime Minister is unable to see St. Vincent and the Grenadines through this hardship, then you cannot ask everyone else to take a pay cut. You have to take a pay cut too. You have to lead by example. You have to lead by example, Mr. Prime Minister. And we don't want you taking a pay cut where you're going to subsidize in some underhand way. You have to take a pay cut and bear the grinds like every Vincent, because we are all in this together. We are all in this together. We must not forget that you were and are responsible for managing the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines were mismanaged, it is your fault. It falls in your lap. So therefore, if we find ourselves in a position or a situation, morning Michelle, my sweetheart Michelle Mills, if we find ourselves in a position or a situation where we are unable to weather the storm in this pandemic, the Prime Minister have to take responsibility, because that is what good leader does. Good leaders take responsibility for their failures. And if our economy have not been growing over the past 20 years under your leadership, then you have to take responsibility for the poor state of the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, right? You have to remember, the teachers had fulfilled their obligation to our country in their capacity as teachers. The police have satisfied their obligation to their country in their capacity of police officers. The nurses have satisfied their responsibility to their country in the capacity of being a nurse. Every civil servant has satisfied their obligation and responsibility to the country in the field that they work in. However, Prime Minister Gonsalves was unable to hold his own, to satisfy his responsibility to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in his capacity as Prime Minister. That is why he was unable to cause the economy to grow. You understand? That is why we don't have a plan of action to deal with the economic crisis that the COVID-19 pandemic is posing to small islands economy like ours. Because the Ralph Gonsalves has failed, while the police did their part, the nurses did their part, the teachers did their part, the doctors did their part, the custom officers did their part. Everyone else did their part except Ralph Gonsalves. How is our country expected to grow when everyone was successful in playing their role in the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, except for the man who is given the authority and the responsibility to grow the country's economy? So therefore, Ralph Gonsalves, in his incompetence, have nullified the hard work of the teachers. He have nullified the hard work of the police officers. He have nullified the hard work of the nurses. He have nullified the hard work of the doctors. He have nullified the hard work of the civil and public servants. But he's incompetent because everyone else live up to their obligation to our nation except for the Prime Minister, who have been mismanaging the economy, who have been making poor decisions that put our country deeper and deeper in debt and prevent the economy of that country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the land that I love so well, from growing and prospering. Every man, Jack, who contributed to the country and the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines have played a role, and played a role with class and with dignity. If it was up to the teachers, if it was up to the police officers, Winston Jambos Young, good day. If it was up to the doctors and the nurses, St. Vincent and the Grenadines would have been productive, because everyone, that every profession, even the carpenters, wake up every day and they go out and they satisfy their responsibility, they live up to their obligation to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Even the sanitation worker went out and they swept the streets of St. Vincent and the Grenadines with pride, with dignity, and with class. I call to mind, what's his name? Pincham. Each morning, Pincham leave his home to go and sweep the streets. Pincham put on a jacket and a tie because he was going to work. He was not working in an office. He was sweeping the street of the city. But he did it with dignity. He did it in a jacket and a tie because he respected. He knew the value of the contribution he was making to his country just by sweeping the streets. Pincham get up every day. He put on his jacket, he put on his tie. He went out to get his broom and his shovel and he swept and cleaned the streets of Kingston. People, listen to what I'm saying. Everyone who Ralph Gonsalves is asking to take a pay cut. Yes, my brother Jambos, Vincent Jambos Young, he's a hard-working gentleman. Everyone who Ralph Gonsalves is going to ask to take a pay cut have lived up to their obligation to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The only person who have not lived up to their obligation to St. Vincent and the Grenadines is Ralph Gonsalves. So he have to be the first in line to take the biggest pay cut that he can ask anyone to take. If he wants the teachers to take a 10%, he must take a 20% pay cut. Because we are all in this together. And the teachers, as I said earlier, the police officers, the nurses, the doctors, the general civil and public servants, the sanitation worker, the carpenter, the mason, everyone went out and they produced efficiently and effectively to ensure the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The only person who have not produced is Ralph Gonsalves in his capacity as Prime Minister and Minister of National Security and Finance for over 20 years. The only people who have not produced is the politician who have been sitting in the seat of government for over 20 years. They have not done anything to develop the nation's economy. They have not done anything to put St. Vincent and the Grenadines in a better economic and financial position. And that is the whole truth. Whether you like me or not, whether you like my views or not, you cannot say that I'm not speaking the truth. Ralph Gonsalves and the government politicians are the only people who have not produced. They are the only people who have not lived up to their responsibility to the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They ask the teacher to educate our nation children. They produce good educated children. They ask the police to secure the nation with limited resources. Our police brothers and sisters go out on the street, they put their life in danger to the best of their ability. And we're not judging all police by the slackers. We're judging by the general consensus. They went out there and they did a job. Nurses go out there and they upheld their part of the bargain where the development of St. Vincent and the Grenadines are concerned. Devon Joseph, thanks for clapping in. Right? The public and civil servants go to work every day under supervision, under levels of supervision, and they satisfy the requirement as is expected of them to ensure St. Vincent and the Grenadines develop. Everybody played a role except Ralph Gonsalves and his party. So if Ralph Gonsalves is going to be bold-faced enough to tell you, you have to take a pay cut, he have to take a pay cut that is bigger than everyone else because he was the only slacker. He was the only one who was lackadaisical and have not lived up to his role to ensure that the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines grow, the economy improve and increase. He is the only one who have been failing our nation. So if he is going to ask anyone to take a pay cut, he have to be the leader. People, let us recap. When Ralph Gonsalves take over the governance of the resources of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 2001, James Mitchell, a man who I don't like. James Mitchell, let me say it again, James Mitchell, a man who I don't like. For obvious reason. leave a consolidated fund there to be used in cases of emergency, in cases like this. Ralph Gonsalves say, wait, they got people, all this money put up there and people want money. He offered back pay to the people who helped him hijack the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's just facts. There's not partisan thing, there's just facts. The records are there to prove this. For 3 straight years, back pay. That money should have been there. And it should have been increased by now to deal with such a kind of emergency. Remember when Ralph Gonsalves take over the reins as Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we had a national commercial bank that was profitable. Ralph Gonsalves misused the bank and its resources to pay his cronies to write and speak good about him on radio and in the papers. The bank went into bankruptcy, and all of the donor agencies, all of the institutions that could have saved the bank, realize that this cannot be saved, not because it will not be profitable, because in order for the bank to be saved, the practice that put it in the situation it is have to be cut out. And if Ralph Gonsalves, Senator Wilson Richards, welcome. If Ralph Gonsalves is a person who is responsible for depleting the resources of the bank, and he's still the Prime Minister, it does not make sense that you put money into saving the National Commercial Bank, because the same thing would happen again, because it is under poor and terrible management. So, all of those institutions, the CDB and everything else, say, sell the bank. We cannot forget the geothermal project with millions of dollars of material laying at the site. Some people may argue the geothermal project was not taxpayers' money. It was loans and grants. But remember, all of the loans has to be paid back to those institutions by the taxpayers. The grant were money that was given, not to be squandered and to be waste. The grants are money that was given to ensure the development of the economy and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So if these money were given for our country's development and they were squandered, that means Ralph Gonsalves have to take full responsibility for the wastage of those money. Simple people, there's not politics, there's just reality. Right? St. Vincent and the Grenadines get over $75 million from donor countries and agencies to deal with the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic. A budget was presented and says that over the past 11 months, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines spent $54 million on 110,000 people. Yet, that is equivalent to $490,000 a person, sorry. So if $490,000 was spent on each person of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, how is it? No one in St. Vincent and the Grenadines' life is better for it. And we're talking about $490,000 per person in a 10-month period. Yet no one's life is better for it. Let me tell you, right? Ralph Gonsalves had enough money from donor countries and donor agencies to ensure that the entire government employment sector can be taken care of for another year and still have money to do projects. So why is he asking, after receiving $75 million or thereabout, and I'm talking about US dollars, $75 million US or thereabout, for COVID-19 relief. Why is it? Why is it he still want to cut the salaries of people when the Minister of Finance, his son, came with an inflated budget? That means he didn't spend half of that money. Came with an inflated budget to say he spent, or the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines spent, $490,000 on each Vincentian over the past 10 months. And yet, you want to tell me you still have to cut salaries? No. Something is terribly wrong somewhere. Don't forget the monies that he put into the cross-country road. Now 18 or so years after, the millions of dollars spent, and the cross-country road is still not a reality. All of these are money squandered. All of these are money that should be invested in the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. All of these money that should have reaped a profit was squandered. Not only were they squandered, we have the remnants of these things just laying their waste. You go to the geothermal project, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of material is still there wasted. Look at the person in the car. They send him to interfere with the life. I don't know if you can see him. Look at him. That's all they do. You understand? That's all they do. They have no ambition. Dig up their asses and run around because they're a slave, doing all kind of foolishness for people. It is a sad thing. You understand? But people, this is a serious situation. Share this video. Right? Share this video. I come to the end of my video. I take the wrong bus, I end up in the wrong part of town. But I have to take the lemon that I serve myself and make lemonade. And that is how all of us are supposed to handle life and life situation. When life serves us a lemon, we take that lemon and we make lemonade. You understand? Now, guess what I say? I thank the Most High for His knowledge, His understanding, and His wisdom. And I ask the Most High, I thank the Most High for giving me the opportunity to share the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom with you, my people. Father, I ask that you bind up all of the demons who will try to stop this video from going into the hands of the people who should see it. You understand? Bind up all of those demons. Father, those that you have to cast into hell, cast them into hell. Even now, my Father. In Yahweh's name I say, I'm out. People, my GoFundMe. Go on my page. Check out my GoFundMe.